In March of 2022, Kouri Richins fatally poisoned Eric Richins, her husband of 9 years with whom she shared 3 young children. The cocktail contained 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl. Kouri was millions of dollars in debt from her house flipping business, so she took out numerous life insurance policies on Eric, unknown to him, and thought she would get her grubby little hands on his $4 million estate after he died, because if there was a divorce, she would get nothing. Kouri also published a children's book on grief the following year called Are You With Me? About comforting a child who has lost a parent. Shortly after going on Good Morning Utah to promote the book, Kouri was finally arrested and charged with Eric Richins' murder. Prosecutors eventually showed this wasn't her first attempt at killing her husband. A week prior, on Valentine's Day, she tried to kill him with a fentanyl-laced sandwich. And instead of divorcing Kouri and having the courts give the majority of custody to his evil wife, he decided to change his will. All of his assets and savings would go to his 3 boys, with his sister, Clint Benson, being in charge of the trust. Eric Richins essentially sacrificed himself because he knew Kouri was not above taking out some life insurance on one, if not all, of their 3 children. In March, a jury convicted Kouri of aggravated murder and 4 other felonies, including fraud, forgery, and attempted murder. She was sentenced on May 13th, what would have been Eric Richins' 44th birthday. The defense desperately tried to get this hearing pushed back, but the judge denied it. So we're going to listen to these victim impact statements. It's going to be extremely emotional and tough to listen to, obviously. So if you only want to hear the info that couldn't get into trial when it comes to how evil Kouri Richins is and what she's put this family through, I have timestamps below. But first, let's hear from Mr. Bloodworth, Attorney Bloodworth. He is the lead prosecutor on the case, and this is what he has to say about Kouri's sentencing to the judge. Also, if you're audio only mode, don't worry. I'm gonna point out when Kouri Richins makes her faces and shows that she has absolutely no remorse for murdering her husband. So if you're audio only, don't worry. I'm gonna let you know when you should look at the video. Okay, one final note I have to mention. Does this woman look familiar to you, this lawyer on the right, Kouri Richins' lawyer? Yeah, that is the lawyer for Tyler Robinson, the man who allegedly murdered Charlie Kirk in Utah. I just thought that was interesting.
Your Honor, on Valentine's Day 2022, Kouri Darden Richins tried and failed to murder her husband and the father of her 3 young children, Eric Richins. Over the next 17 days, she did not think, what have I done? Rather, she thought, how can I do better? And then she murdered Eric in the presence of their children, using poison and for money. Such a person should never again lurk among the rest of us. Her children should never worry that they may one day encounter her. For these reasons, the reasons set forth in the state's sentencing memorandum, and the boundless reasons the court has learned from presiding over this case, the pending criminal case, and the multiple associated civil cases. The state requests that the court impose a sentence of life in prison without parole on count 1, 5 years to life in prison consecutive to any other sentence on count 2, 1 to 15 years in prison consecutive to any other sentence on counts 3.
By the way, Attorney Bloodworth mentioned civil suits. Kouri Richins is suing Eric's sister, who's in charge of the estate, for her children, because Kouri wants all of Eric's money. I don't know what she's going to do with it in prison. Every single dollar that is spent defending that lawsuit for Kouri's boys is a dollar her boys will not have. Evil lady.
And 4 and 1 to 5 years in prison consecutive to any other sentence on count 5. Furthermore, the state requests that the court order the defendant to pay restitution to Auto Owners Insurance Company in the amount of $1,017,018 and True Stage Insurance Company in the amount of $352,562. state requests that the court order the defendant to pay recoupment to Summit County in the amount of $1,391,943. Kouri Darden Richins earned this sentence. Her children deserve it. Only this court can order it. The court's time this morning is best spent hearing from a few of Kouri Darden Richins' victims. Fathers are not meant to bury sons. Gene Richins will present his victim impact statement first. Losing a sibling is losing a piece of yourself. Katie Richins Benson, Clint Benson, and Dr. Amy Richins will then present their victim impact statements. There are no greater victims in this case than Eric's 3 young boys. The defendant took both of their parents from them. Jessica Black, who is Weston's counselor, Christina Greening, who is Ashton's counselor, and Sarah Barber, who is Carter's counselor, will then present the boys' victim impact statements.
So like Attorney Bloodworth said, we're going to be hearing from the counselors who got statements from Eric's children. At the time of the murders, they were 9 years old, 7 years old, and 5 years old. And now I guess the oldest is around 13 and the youngest is around 9. But that is when we find out that Kouri is not just an evil murderer. She doesn't care for her children and she doesn't care for animals. What she put her kids through, even after killing their father, is deeply disturbing.
Your Honor, Gene Richins.
And this first victim impact statement comes from Gene Richins, Eric Richins' father.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please take your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Honor, my name is Gene Richins. I'm Eric's father. No parent should ever have to bury their child. It's a loss that changes you forever. Eric was taken from us way too soon. And his loss has left a permanent hole in our family that will never be filled, ever. Eric was first and foremost an incredible father. To his 3 boys, Carter, Ashton, and Wes, his sons were his world, and he was theirs also. They didn't just see him as a dad, they saw him as their best friend, their coach, their mentor, their protector. He was present in every part of their lives. Whether it was soccer, baseball, basketball, or any activity that they were involved in. Eric was there coaching, encouraging, and supporting not only his own boys, but every child on the team. Eric didn't just coach sports, he built confidence. He built character and friendships. He gave his time freely because he cared deeply about helping young people grow into strong, kind, and capable individuals. The impact Eric had on these children and families continues even now. On the soccer team that he coached, before every game, the players gathered and called out a cheer. For many teams, it might be something ordinary. But for Eric's team, even 4 years after his death, they still break the huddle with the words, 1, 2, 3, Eric. That simple cheer speaks volumes about a man he was and the lasting imprint that he left upon young lives in this community. He was a light to his sons, to the boys he coached, and to our entire community. A light that was taken far too soon. Eric was only 39 years old. As his father, I miss him every day. I miss our conversations, I miss watching him grow into a man I was so proud of. One of the greatest joys of my life was seeing the kind of father he had become. Eric was patient, loving, dedicated, and fully present in his boys' lives. Watching him raise his sons with such care and devotion was incredibly meaningful to me. Eric was also an amazing brother to 2 sisters, a loving uncle, nephew, cousin, and loyal friend. He was a trusted business partner, a valued colleague, and a respected member of our community. He was generous with his time, his energy, and kindness. He treated people with respect, showed gratitude even for the smallest acts of kindness, and gave freely of himself, because that's simply who he was. He worked hard to provide a beautiful life for his family. He gave them a home many would consider a dream. He ensured their needs were met, supported them, cared for them, and treated his wife with love every day. Yet despite everything he gave, his life was taken from him, not by a stranger, but by a person he should have been able to trust the very most in his life.
I just realized I'm covering Corey's face, but so is the Court TV logo. Court TV will zoom out, I promise. She's not making any faces really during Eric Richins' father's impact statement. It's more so the sisters that she has a grudge against for whatever reason, because they care about her kids more than her. So I have moved my camera. It's all good now.
He was betrayed in the most imaginable way possible. His life was taken through calculated, intentional actions motivated by the greed, control, and desire for a different life with someone else.
Okay, scratch that. Corey is making some faces. Kind of hard to see because of the Court TV logo. Thanks, guys. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It gets bad. I have never seen a defendant make faces like this in court. You'll see that later.
Eric's boys lost a father. I lost my son. His sisters lost their brother. Our family lost a man who represented the very best of what a person can be. The ripple effects of this loss extend far beyond our immediate family. His friends lost someone they trusted and admired. The children he coached lost a mentor, a role model. Our community lost someone who genuinely cared and gave back without expecting anything in return. Eric will never see his boys graduate, get married, or become fathers themselves. He will never again stand on the sidelines cheering them on. He will never offer guidance, encouragement, or love in any way that only a father can. That opportunity was stolen from him and from all of us. Because of the calculated and intentional nature of this crime, I respectfully ask the court to impose a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. This sentence is important to Eric's 3 sons. Never have to live with the fear that the person responsible for taking their father could ever harm them again, and to ensure she can never harm anyone else ever again. Despite our immense grief, I want to acknowledge and thank those who have worked tirelessly to bring justice for my son. Eric was always grateful for others showed kindness and dedication, and I know he would want to express sincere appreciation to those who gave their time, effort, and professionalism to seek the truth in this case. We are deeply thankful to the prosecution team, Margaret, Brad, Lindsay, Fred, Joe, Wendy, Patricia, and the entire staff who supported them for their commitment and their perseverance. We also want to recognize and thank Todd for his dedication and relentless efforts in helping us ensure justice has been served. We are also grateful to Grace Wardis for serving as a spokesperson and an advocate for our family throughout this process. We thank the Summit County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Hemingway, Detective O'Driscoll, Detective Hopper, Officer Woody, Officer Gibson, and all the law enforcement personnel who worked on this investigation. We thank the bailiffs who ensured the safety and the order of this courtroom. We thank you, Your Honor, for your patience, professionalism, and stewardship of this process. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to each juror, including the alternates, for their sacrifice and their time, for seriously taking the responsibility, who carried out to ensure justice was served. Nothing can bring Eric back. Nothing can restore what has been taken from his sons, from our family, and from this community. But accountability matters here. Justice matters. Eric mattered. His life, his love mattered, his example mattered. He will always be remembered as a devoted father, a loving son, a supportive brother, a loyal friend, and a man who made lives of those around him better. We miss him every day and will continue to honor his memory by living with the same kindness and dedication that he showed to everyone fortunate enough to know him. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Dean.
I just want to acknowledge that it takes so much courage to not only publicly speak in front of the courtroom and the judge and the tens of thousands of people watching the court live stream, but also to face the person that murdered your loved one. And then to have the defendant, the murderer, Kouri Richins, staring you down, making faces. You know, you can feel that. Their eyes are putting daggers in your back. Like, you can feel that. So the next person to speak is Kouri Richins Benson, Eric's sister.
Katie, good morning.
So as you know, I'm Katie, and I'm Eric's sister. To begin, there are a multitude of people who deserve credit and appreciation. Law enforcement agencies across the state of Utah, the Summit County Prosecutor's Office, the Medical Examiner's Office, expert witnesses who worked hand in hand with law enforcement, Eric's friends, Eric's co-workers, my friends and my family, our entire team of lawyers and experts in the civil lawsuit. There are far too many people to mention by name, and I suspect if I try to, I will inadvertently leave someone out. But to all of you, please know that this would not be possible without your efforts, your support, and the strength of the community that has stood beside us. Both my family and I are forever grateful to each of you. I am also very grateful to you, Your Honor, to this court for the dignified manner in which it presided over the trial, and to the members of the jury for faithfully performing their civic duties. Today is Eric's birthday. I stand before you because he can't. He was taken away from my dad, my sister, his nieces, his friends, our community, and worst of all, from his 3 amazing sons. Sorry. He was taken away from us by a person he should have been able to trust, the person he should have trusted most in the world, his wife. It's impossible to fully describe how devastating Eric's death and Kouri's crimes have been to our family. Nearly every aspect of our lives has been permanently changed, and we have no choice but to live with those changes and with Eric's loss forever. Eric was a phenomenal brother, father, son, nephew, grandson, cousin, friend, and businessman. Eric and I were extremely close. We went through school together and navigated life side by side. Wherever Eric went, I was usually tagging along right behind. In school, Eric's nickname was Richie, and mine was Little Richie, a reflection on how inseparable we were. He wasn't just my brother. He was my constant, my protector, and one of my closest friends. Eric was the kind of father who anticipated his children's needs before they ever had to ask. He made sure they were always having fun, taught them how to be respectful and kind, and was constantly planning for their future. His mind and heart was always on his boys, always. Everything he did was for them. Eric was the very best uncle. He made his nieces, my daughters, feel truly special. He always found ways to have fun with them. He doted on them with love and attention. Eric was an incredible son, always there for my parents, stepping in without hesitation and helping in every way he could, without being asked. The bond he shared with my mom was truly special. We would often joke that the umbilical cord had never really been cut, but in truth, it spoke to the deep, unbreakable love they had for each other. This is who Eric truly was, a man defined by love, integrity, and unwavering devotion to his family. He is none of the things that Kouri tried to portray him as. Those mischaracterizations were nothing more than a vile.
Sorry, I had to rewind that a little bit. This is when the faces start with Kouri Richins. She does not like when Eric's family talks about what she did. So, if you're audio listening, I would say you might want to watch this one.
Those mischaracterizations were nothing more than a vile effort to deflect blame. And those mischaracterizations stand in stark contrast to the reality of the man we all knew and loved. Eric's life and his actions and the profound impact he had on those around him speak for themselves, and they tell a story of goodness, strength, and character that cannot be rewritten or diminished. The saddest part for me in all of this is that I got something with Eric that his sons never did: time. I feel cheated that I only got to spend a few decades with my brother, but I should feel lucky in comparison. As Eric's eldest son told me shortly after his dad's death, he and his brothers did not even get 10 years with their dad. It is devastating that Eric is not here to coach them, to work the family ranch with them, to teach them how to drive, to attend their high school graduation, to send them off to college, to see them get married, or to celebrate the birth of his future grandchildren. His 3 sons are going to grow up and live nearly their entire lives without their dad. They are going to get to know their dad more from the stories we tell about them than their actual experiences. In all likelihood, by the time they are age 44 years old, which is how old Eric would be today, they will have little to no actual memories of Eric. And they have to go through life without their dad because their mother planned and carried out his murder. She could not have done anything more selfish or more cruel to those boys. In the place of a stable, secure, and loving home, Kouri gave the boys permanent trauma. They were in the house the night she killed their father. They were awake. They knew that something terrible had happened to their dad. As we heard on the 911 call during trial, one of them even walked into Eric's bedroom, where Eric's body lay dead, poisoned by someone who his son should have been able to unconditionally trust, love, and depend on. No child should have to bear that trauma. But Eric's 3 innocent sons will bear that burden, and they will bear it for the rest of their lives. Kouri's selfishness and cruelty did not end with Eric's murder. In the time after Eric's death, Kouri has done nothing but isolate, manipulate, deceive, and do harm to those boys. Almost immediately after Eric died, she cut them off completely from our family, from Eric's family. The isolation was calculated and strategic. Kouri used the boys as bargaining chips with my dad.
This just goes to show that Kouri has absolutely zero remorse. She truly believes that she's a victim in all of this, despite being convicted of murder. And I don't think she'll ever take accountability for what she did because she's that stubborn and only cares about herself. The faces she has made and proceeds to make, I'm gobsmacked. Like, how does she think this is okay? And don't worry, the judge is seeing all of this. She keeps looking at one of her attorneys too, like, can you believe she's saying all this? Well, Kouri, put yourself in this situation.
She repeatedly threatened not to let him see his grandsons unless he could convince me, as Eric's trustee of his trust, to capitulate to her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Kouri provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family. When DCFS took custody of the boys following Kouri's arrest and asked where they would like to go, they expressed fear of my family.
In case you missed it, I could easily read Kouri's lips. When Eric's sister says this, she looks at her attorney and goes, "What?"
Of his trust to capitulate to her legal demands and give her all the trust assets. While isolating the boys, Kouri provided them with false and harmful information about me and my family. When DCFS took custody of the boys following Kouri's arrest and asked where they would like to go, they expressed fear of my family. The fear was not based on reality, but on what they had been told.
Sorry, I keep pausing this, but I'm trying to process Kouri's face and reactions and also what Clint Benson is saying. Apparently, Kouri completely isolated her 3 boys from Eric's family for about 16 months, basically until she was arrested, and was using them, like Katie said, as a bargaining chip with Eric's father, dangling them in front of him, like, I'll let you see my children if you get Katie to give me some of that money, which is pure evil. And on top of that, she was also telling her boys Eric's side of the family didn't care about them, didn't want to see them, hated them, while they were fighting as hard as they could to see those boys and spend time with those boys. So just more and more layers of evil to this woman that we're just now finding out.
Over a year, Kouri led them to believe I hated them, that I was attempting to take Eric's money for myself, and that I intended for them to be left without support, that they would be homeless and starving. These statements were entirely false and had no basis in reality. Had they not been subjected to that influence, they would have known the truth. Prior to Eric's death, our families were very close. My daughters and his sons had strong friendships, and I had a meaningful individual relationship with each of my nephews. I spent time riding horses with one, helping another identify summer coding programs, and the youngest participated in ice skating lessons with my daughters. Our families shared holidays, worked together on our family ranch, took trips together, and I was present the day each of the boys were born in the hospital. The boys have expressed their confusion about these circumstances. They have stated that prior to their father's passing, both Eric and Kouri frequently told them if anything were to happen, they should go with me, that I would care for them and support them. Following Eric's death, however, those messages changed. After Eric passed away, Kouri prevented all contact between our family and the boys. She prohibited communication and continued to provide them of false information about us. When we were finally able to see the boys again, approximately 15 months after Eric's death, the boys hardly recognized the relationship we had. Instead, they viewed my family and me with fear and hesitation, as though we were strangers. Kouri also went to great lengths to jeopardize the boys' financial futures. I know you are very aware of this. Among other things, she drained the personal bank accounts that Eric had set up for his boys as college funds. She allowed the boys' Social Security survivor benefits to be funneled to individuals who were not taking care of the boys. And she sued me in my role as Eric's trustee and personal representative, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. The goal of her lawsuits is singular. She wants all of Eric's assets for herself. Despite her lies and fanciful public portrayal, she knows that none of Eric's assets are going to me, my dad, or my sister. In fact, she knows exactly where Eric wanted everything to go, and that is to his boys. And yet, for 4 years, she has aggressively tried to take their inheritance from them. Even now, despite erroneous debt, a murder conviction, and a string of pending felony financial charges, Kouri's civil lawsuits live on. Those lawsuits have been emotionally grueling, all-consuming, and unimaginably expensive. And tragically, every dollar on those suits is a dollar that Eric's boys will not get. Of course, Kouri can't have other people or the public thinking that she's trying to take away her children's inheritance. So for the past 4 years, both in court and in the media, she has demonized and vilified me. She has hurled wild accusations in my direction, including that I hacked her bank accounts, forged her bank statements, paid off witnesses, unduly pressured law enforcement into investigating her, and quietly pulled the Summit County prosecutor's strings. It is despicable that for doing nothing more than trying to honor Eric's wishes, Kouri has cast me as the evildoer here. Just as bad, honoring Eric's wishes has landed my sister and myself, and unbelievably, my 2 daughters in Kouri's crosshairs. One of Eric's sons recently told me that Kouri used to say, "I will get them one day." Apparently, she was talking about me, my sister, and my daughters. Her infamous walk the dog letter, the part the jury did not hear, confirms her desire to harm me. In it, she talks at length about her plans to get at Amy and me, including by targeting my daughters, both of whom are under the age of 10. It takes a sick mind to target children. The mere thought that someone who has so little regard for human life or decency might one day walk free is horrifying. I worry about the safety of Eric's boys, my daughters, my sister, and myself. There is nothing Kouri will not do, and no one she will not hurt, to achieve her own selfish ends. I am not the only one that is afraid. There are 3 little boys who, instead of fearing those who love and adore them, as Kouri would prefer, worry constantly that Kouri might show up one day and take them away. Eric's sons deserve so much better. They are not bargaining chips. They are not cash cows. They are not props for some twisted children's book about grief and loss. And yet that is what they've been reduced to by Kouri. To my unending sadness and horror, Eric himself understood all too well the danger she posed to his children and to his family. When Eric told me he had changed his estate planning.
So this is when Katie gets into what Eric knew. If you didn't watch the trial, Eric had consulted with a divorce attorney, and that is where he learned that if he did divorce Kouri, because, she was trying to kill him, she would likely get most of the custody, if not full custody, of the children because she's the mother. And Eric had to make a decision.
And appointed me as his trustee and personal representative. I begged him to end the marriage and go his separate way. By that point, he had already consulted with a divorce attorney and was deeply afraid that he might not be awarded sole custody of his children. He made the heartbreaking decision to stay because he could not accept the risk of what might happen to his sons if Kouri had equal custody. He told me he would live his life through hell every single day of his life until his youngest was 18, because he believed Kouri was the most evil person he had ever met. He knew that his sons did not like her. He told me as much many times. He knew that they would prefer to be far away from her, but he also knew that divorce carried significant risks. And he said he could never allow his children to spend half of their time alone with her, because he was certain they would be exposed to harm and things no child should ever experience.
Kouri's jaw is on the floor, but I believe Katie when she says this. I'm convinced at this point that this woman would do anything for money. She does not care about anyone but herself. and she's acting shocked because she doesn't want to take accountability for it. However, deep down, she knows it's true.
He made it clear that in his mind, if Kouri were given equal custody, his children would be in the care of someone he believed to be deeply dangerous. He feared the people they could be exposed to and the damage that could be done. At the same time, he spoke with deep love and admiration for his boys. He told me that they were the most amazing boys in the world, and that none of this was their choice and none of it was their fault, and that he would do everything in his power to protect them for as long as he possibly could. Kouri loves to go on and on about how this case is a media sensation. She's right. News outlets from here to Europe have covered it. There have been countless newspaper articles, podcasts, and TV specials about it. Every hearing is live streamed on numerous YouTube channels. Every filing is scrutinized by internet lawyers and true crime junkies. There is no question that this case is famous and that Kouri is now famous. But what Kouri never mentions in talking about her fame and notoriety are the reasons why this case is now famous. It is famous for how appalling and sickening it is. It is famous because a mother meticulously planned to kill her husband, killed him while their children were sleeping in the next room, and then had the audacity to hold herself out as the author of a children's book about grief and loss. It is famous because she spent time Googling luxury prisons for the rich in America. It is famous because from her jail cell, she scripted a bunch of phony testimony so that her brother could perpetrate a fraud on the court. It is famous because she victimized her own children and threatened to victimize Eric's nieces. The fame and attention are directly proportional to the evil that has gone on here. This is not a situation where the idea of rehabilitation should be entertained. In taking Eric's life for her own selfish gain, Kouri did not only harm Eric, she permanently harmed 3 kids who were under the age of 10. She took away a dad, a son, a brother, an uncle, a grandson, a nephew, a cousin, and a friend. Eric's death has caused immeasurable pain to so many. Obviously, there's nothing the court can do about that.
Kouri is making the face of the mean girl when you walk by her in the cafeteria at lunch. She's not making the face of someone who was convicted of murder and feels any remorse.
And you cannot bring him back. But what you can do is give Kouri's victims at least some measure of closure. To that end, I ask that the court impose a sentence that ensures Kouri never has the opportunity to harm Eric's children or our family again. Please do not let my brother's life be worth nothing more than a 25-year punishment. Please do not leave those boys to wonder whether Kouri might track them or their children down in the future. Please do not create a possibility for Kouri to endanger Eric's boys, my daughters, my family, or anyone else ever again. Please sentence Kouri to a life in prison without the possibility of parole. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
The way in which Kouri had to make sure her eyes followed Katie as she left the podium. What a fucking bitch. Holy shit. Kouri is living in her own world. She is so delusional. She truly believes she doesn't deserve any of this. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Morning, Clint.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Clint Benson. I am Katie's husband and Eric's brother-in-law. Eric was an innocent man, a devoted father, and someone whose life revolved around his children and his family. Because of Kouri's choices, he never had the opportunity to say goodbye to his children, to reassure them, to share the final moments every family deserves. That loss cannot be measured. His children will spend the rest of their lives carrying the pain of a father taken from them far too soon. What makes this tragedy even more painful is the calculated nature of the crime. This was not a momentary mistake, a lapse in judgment, or a crime of passion. It involved planning, preparation, testing, and deliberate action. Eric's death was carried out in a way that caused fear, suffering, and helplessness. Kouri either watched or sat by as Eric succumbed to fentanyl poisoning instead of providing any kind of aid to him. She was fantasizing about a dream life funded by Eric's death. Eric was killed in his home by a traitor sleeping next to him in one of the most cowardly acts imaginable. We are profoundly grateful to every investigator, prosecutor, detective, law enforcement officer, juror, judge, forensic expert, and public servant who worked tirelessly and honestly to uncover the truth. Their dedication ensured that Eric's voice was not lost and that justice could still prevail. We are equally grateful for the incredible community surrounding us. This community has shown unwavering support and has been there for Eric's boys without judgment and through some of the most difficult times imaginable. The boys are succeeding and thriving because of the people around them who continue to provide support and look out for their safety. Going through every aspect of this murder easily led to a dark place while fighting against an individual focused on only chaos and vengeance. However, the people surrounding us, including the sheriff's officers, principals, teachers, school staff, coaches, counselors, neighbors, and church members, created an unbreakable force for what is good, just, and right. No sentence can bring Eric back. No outcome will erase the suffering caused by these actions. But accountability matters, truth matters, and justice matters. Kouri continues to shirk responsibility for her actions, for the pain she has caused, and for the resources she has squandered, both Eric's and the state's. Even after everything that has been revealed, Kouri has demonstrated zero genuine accountability or remorse for the devastation she has left behind. Instead, she has repeatedly attempted to distort the truth, create false narratives, and portray herself as the victim. She has used the legal system as part of her schemes. There has been lawsuit after lawsuit, motion after motion, delay after delay, all in an effort to shift blame away from the person responsible. The evidence, the truth, and the outcome of this case all tell a very different story. What is especially concerning is the continued hostility from Kouri and her family, as well as their desire for vengeance directed towards our family, a family already devastated by an unimaginable loss. Statements they have made about going to war and getting the Richins demonstrate an ongoing mindset rooted in blame, anger, and retaliation, rather than remorse or acceptance of responsibility. Kouri will continue to try to convince the public that she was a good mother through media outlets that choose not to research or report on the countless motions and facts presented about going to war and getting the rated by an unimaginable loss. Statements they have made about going to hostility from Kouri and her family in an effort to shift blame away from the person responsible. The evidence, the truth, and the outcome of this case all tell a very different story. What is especially concerning is the continued hostility from Kouri and her family, as well as their desire for vengeance directed towards our family, a family already devastated by an unimaginable loss. Statements they have made about going to war and getting the Richins demonstrate an ongoing mindset rooted in blame, anger, and retaliation.
Speaking of Kouri Richins and her family, the walk the dog letter that was referenced earlier, that was in reference to a letter Kouri Richins wrote while she was being held in jail awaiting the trial, essentially trying to get her brother to commit perjury and testify to stuff that isn't true. She tried to paint Eric Richins as a heavy drug user, even though he just occasionally took THC gummies. She wanted the jury to believe that Eric Richins had purchased his THC gummies from shady people in Mexico and that it was actually laced with the fentanyl that ultimately killed him. That was her defense. The entirety of that letter did not make it into the trial, but she was plotting all kinds of shit. Oh yeah, and speaking of Kouri Richins' family, other than her trying to get her brother to perjure himself, I think she wrote that letter to her mother. And her mother, if you recall, I've mentioned this before, her mother also had a partner that mysteriously died of an overdose, and she was the beneficiary of some life insurance. So, apparently authorities are looking into that again. It would be so insane if Kouri and her mother went down for that. I have read a little bit about it. It's just a little shady. Personally, I believe that Kouri Richins' mother knew what Kouri did. Also, sorry to pause a couple times. I have a maintenance man here fixing the air conditioning. So, sorry about that. We'll carry on.
rather than remorse or acceptance of responsibility. Kouri will continue to try to convince the public that she was a good mother through media outlets that choose not to research or report on the countless motions and facts presented in this case or other cases, but instead simply regurgitate the false narratives of a sick and evil person. Kouri and her family continue to plan media campaigns focused on lies, targeting anyone foolish enough to spend time listening to them. Kouri is not before this court because she was mistreated, because she is a victim, or because the Richins family manufactured a false narrative that she and the Darden family would like to portray. She is before this court because of the choices she has made, choices that resulted in Eric's death and permanent trauma to anyone who has loved him. Kouri chose pride, seeking to project an image of success. Kouri chose adultery and lust, prioritizing her secret lover over her husband and her children. Kouri chose fraud and greed, hoping to profit from Eric's death. Kouri chose murder, and she continues to choose vengeance against the victims of her actions. The time for Kouri to make choices is at an end. Now it is time for her victims to choose. Please let Eric's children have a chance to choose lifelong peace, comfort, security, success, and happiness. I ask this court to impose a sentence of life without parole, a sentence that truly reflects the gravity of this crime, the irreversible harm caused to our family, and the calculated choices that led to Eric's death. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So this is Dr. Amy Richins, Eric's other sister. I believe she became a doctor sometime after Eric died and throughout this trial, so the fact that she was able to deal with all that and still become a doctor is incredible. And I also want to give a trigger warning because Dr. Amy talks about experiencing a miscarriage because of everything that's happened. Timestamps are below if you need to skip.
Honorable Judge Mrazek, my name is Amy Richins. I am Eric Richins' sister. Today, I'm here to speak as a victim and to speak for Eric because he no longer has a voice. I addressed this court in 2023 when we were living in a state of visceral shock. Now, 3 years later, we are here at sentencing on a date that carries a weight I can barely describe. Today's Eric's 44th birthday. Birthdays are supposed to be proof of life, a day to celebrate another year of growth. Instead, today is a cruel reminder of another year Eric will never see, and a reminder of the fatherhood that was stolen from his 3 sons. Before I talk about what this crime has done, I need you to know who Eric was, not as a headline, but as a person. Over the course of this trial, so many people described Eric in strikingly similar ways. They called him outgoing, confident, funny, competitive, dependable, driven, and fiercely loyal. He was a leader, a hard worker, a rancher, a businessman, a coach, a best friend, a brother, a son. But more than anything, people described him as a phenomenal father. Eric had 3 sons and he coached many of their sports teams. He was the kind of dad who showed up not just for his own children, but for everyone around them. Sometimes I think about all the children who lost him too, the kids he coached, mentored, and believed in. I cannot imagine the confusion and heartbreak they felt when someone who had become such a steady and trusted part of their lives was suddenly gone. Eric was a real person, a deeply loved person, and the loss of him echoes through every life he touched. On my 16th birthday, I was sitting in my 10th grade English class when I got a text from Eric that said, "Come outside." I walked out and there was Eric, standing with flowers and that mischievous grin we all knew. I asked what he was doing there and he just said, "Let's go. We've got to get a little mud on your tires." I had just bought my first truck a used Ford F-150. Eric took me up into the mountains and we took that truck off-roading for the first time. It was exhilarating and terrifying, but I felt safe because he was there. That was Eric. He made life bigger. He made people feel brave, and he protected the people he loved. That is the brother I lost, and that is the father his boys lost. In 2023, I told this court that I was tormented by the sequence of events of that night. Today, that torment has not faded. I still wonder when Eric realized he was in mortal danger. I wonder what Kouri said to him in his last moments. I'm still haunted by the question, did his boys hear their father's final struggle? If Eric had died of an illness, we would have cared for him. If it were an accident, there would have been kindness. But there is no comfort here. In his last moments, after being intentionally poisoned, my brother was faced with the ultimate betrayal. Eric's sons were 9, 7, and 5 when their world was shattered. They are now 13, 11, and 9. These are the years when a boy learns how to be a man by watching his father. What makes this crime uniquely heinous is that their grief will never pass. It will reinvent itself at every milestone. This crime didn't just happen once. It happens every single morning when those boys wake up and realize their father is still gone. They did not just lose their father, they lost the life they knew. Eric's death didn't end the harm. It began a grinding process of re-traumatization. Early in this process, I remember being told this case would be a marathon, not a sprint. We did not understand how every hearing, filing, delay, and public narrative would reopen wounds all over again. As if losing Eric was not painful enough, our family was then forced to grieve under public scrutiny. After the publication of the grief book, our family became the subject of public narratives, attacks, and speculation. At one point, I received a message sent from a burner phone that said, "You think you're funny? Kouri will get the last laugh. Your jealousy is as disgusting as your family." Law enforcement later confirmed through warrants.
Who do y'all think sent that text from a burner phone before Kouri was even arrested?
That the message came from Kouri.
If you're not watching the video version, I need you to come back right now and see Kouri's reaction to that. I'm gonna rewind.
That the message came from Kouri. That moment stayed with me because it captured what these years have felt like. Not just grief, but intimidation and distortion.
It was also revealed during the trial that when Kouri was being investigated, I don't know if she was in jail already at this point, Kouri's mother sent one of these investigators the book that Kouri had written, Are You With Me? The children's book about grief, and put a note alongside it. I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't recall exactly. Like, this is the mother you're prosecuting. This is the mother you're looking into. I want to make sure you know that. They sent it anonymously through Amazon, but investigators were able to track it down, and it came from Kouri's mother. And now we know the apple does not fall far from the tree because Kouri was texting Eric's sister off a burner phone saying she's going to get the last laugh. That is insane.
Yes, our family hired a private investigator. But when someone you love dies suddenly and deep in your gut, you believe something is terribly wrong, you do not stop searching for answers. The real question is not why would you investigate? The real question is, what wouldn't you do? What wouldn't you do for your brother, for the truth? I also feel compelled to address the emotional toll of the trial itself. As the designated victim representative, and more importantly as Eric's sister, I have a right to be present in the courtroom. Yet during the proceedings, I was essentially kept in the dark. Due to the courtroom layout, I could not see the exhibits or the evidence. When we requested simple accommodation, we were told that the trial was being broadcast on court TV and I could excuse myself and watch from home with the rest of the world.
That is fucking insane. And look at Kouri's fucking smug ass face. The point of families being in court is not every case is fucking live streamed. They have a right to see all the evidence being presented against Kouri Richins. I want to know who said you can watch it on court TV. That is fucking insane. Who wants to sit in court and listen to these horrific details about their loved one and then go home and watch the fucking live stream? Whoever told them that is fucking insane. What the fuck? That's awful.
Being told that my right to be here was interchangeable with a television broadcast was a profound violation. I did not want to watch Eric's life and death as content from my couch. I didn't want to go home after a grueling day and listen and watch it all over again. I had a right to be here, to face the evidence directly. Still, to this day, I have not been able to rewatch the trial because it's so time-consuming and painful to relive. I still have not seen all the evidence that was presented. Your Honor, I need to say this clearly. Someday, those boys will grow up and look back at the records of this trial. I need the truth to be the only thing they find. The claims made against Eric's character were not just legal defenses, they were acts of secondary violence. Eric was a protector, not a predator. These lies were a desperate attempt to justify the unjustifiable, and they have added a layer of cruelty to our grief that is nearly impossible to bear. I also need to correct the record on a few misrepresentations. First, the prenup. It was provided well before the wedding, not in a last-minute way. Second, the incident between Kouri and me. I never touched her. Kouri pled guilty to assaulting me.
This is the sister she punched in the neck. She was so angry she could not get into that safe and get Eric's will and his cash and whatever else her grubby little fingers wanted. Kouri is looking at the judge like, help me, but girl, he's been watching your faces this whole time. What an idiot.
Yet she and her circle have continued to spread false narratives. This is a pattern of distortion that has kept our family trapped in conflict. There is something that has haunted me for years. And I found out Katie was the exact same today. I begged Eric to leave too. I begged him to divorce her. But Eric was trying to protect his boys. People often struggle to recognize intimate partner violence when the victim is a man. But Eric's actions spoke for themselves. He documented conversations. He tried to protect himself. He knew after Valentine's Day that she had tried to poison him, but he also believed that if he left, he could not fully protect his children. So he stayed because he was trying to keep them safe. This trauma has seeped into every corner of my life. And also, it has also deeply affected my own family and marriage. My husband, William, watched me be consumed by the pursuit of justice. For 4 years, we have lived in a constant state of stress, grief, and emotional exhaustion. I lost my job as a professor at Montana Tech University on the very day I was subpoenaed to appear in this court. Eric was so proud of me earning my PhD, and teaching students was something I loved and that made me proud. It now seems like another thing that Kouri's actions have taken away from me. But the most devastating loss is one that isn't in any police report. Because of the unrelenting stress of this investigation and the constant attacks on our family, I suffered a traumatic miscarriage of twins. We lost our children. We lost the future we were building. Kouri's actions didn't just to end one life. They reached out and stifled the lives of my unborn children as well. That loss lives inside this tragedy too. Eric's murder did not just take someone from my life. It plunged me into a darkness. It stole the light I once carried. It erased the future I had planned. Every day, I wake up and step into this same crushing emptiness, where time itself feels frozen and meaningless. The laughter of my future children, the warmth of my family, the simple joy of waking to a new morning, all of it has been devoured by this crime. This grief is limitless, resembling the ocean. Sometimes it softly touches the shore, other times it pounds against it with fierce force. Occasionally, it surges like a massive tsunami, overwhelming everything. These changes can occur suddenly, and like the ocean, it cannot be controlled. I didn't just lose my brother. I lost my sister-in-law. I lost someone I considered my friend. We'd had good times together. That loss is so complicated now, Your Honor, because it forces you to grieve someone who is still alive while facing the horror of what they have done. It is grief that doesn't resolve. It just sits there heavy every day. This crime has fractured our family in ways outsiders cannot understand. One of the most painful realities is that my husband and I do not get to see our nephews. This tragedy has created a wall of trauma between us, and that feels impossible to climb. Because of this crime, we are no longer present in those boys' lives the way Eric would have wanted. In 2023, I told this court I never knew evil like this existed. Everything I have witnessed since has confirmed that. Kouri did not just kill Eric. She attempted to kill the spirit of everyone who loved him. She lied to his children, she lied to the world, and has shown no remorse while dancing on his grave for profit. Your Honor, a parole-eligible sentence is not a conclusion. It is a reoccurring nightmare. It guarantees that every few years, Eric's sons will be notified that their father's murderer is seeking freedom. It forces them to relive the trauma repeatedly for decades. Eric died trying to be his children's shield. He can no longer protect them, so now the responsibility falls to this court. I ask you to provide these boys with the finality and safety they deserve. I ask you to ensure that the noise of Kouri Richins never enters their lives again. For the years of suffering we have endured, for the children who will grow up without their father, and for the life she stole from Eric and the peace she stole from us, I respectfully ask that you sentence Kouri Richins to life without the possibility of parole. Happy birthday, Rico. Thank you.
And now we are going to be hearing from the sons of Eric Richins through their counselors. And this is West End's counselor, Jessica Black.
Take your time.
My name is Jessica Black. I'm a licensed clinical mental health therapist and a registered therapist. Myself and my colleagues are here today to read the victim impact statements for 3 children. We are here as advocates on their behalf. After a developmentally appropriate process, the boys were able to decide individually how they wanted to share their statements, and this is what they chose. Our roles are to read their words exactly as they wrote. The boys want the court and the world to hear their side. This is from WR. I woke up to sirens, and there were a lot of people at my house, and I was definitely scared. I felt confused. I was in a bedroom with my brothers, and I didn't know what was happening. At first, I was really scared because I didn't know what was happening, and I had no control, and I felt helpless. I felt really overwhelmed. After my dad died, Kouri would put us in the basement while she was with the neighbor. I felt scared because I thought something really bad was happening again. She would take me to places that smelled really bad. Everything she did made me feel uncomfortable.
So Kouri was bringing the neighbor over and locking her kids in the basement. I don't know who this neighbor is. I would assume she was telling the boys it was the neighbor and it was actually just another lover of hers. However, could have just been the neighbor. Not sure. I know they weren't up to anything good if she's locking her kids in the basement. The boy also said Kouri was taking her to places that stink. The only thing that comes to mind is maybe he was smelling weed. Maybe she was using weed. I can't think of anything else that a child would think stinks, unless she was literally taking him to the dump to dispose of evidence. So maybe she was taking her kids with her to smoke weed.
When someone talks about Kouri, it makes me feel hateful and ashamed. She took away my dad. It's made me have a hard time trusting people. I was scared that Kouri's family would come to my school and take me. I had to go to counseling with DCFS in Heber, and I did.
And again, Kouri cannot help but make faces at the counselor who is reading her own child's words. I am so glad these children have their own representatives and can get everything they want to be said out there through these counselors, through these victim advocates, because, oh man, Kouri has such a punchable face. That's all I'm going to say.
Did not like it. DCFS made me talk to Kouri, and I couldn't do things that I wanted to do. I felt not important to anyone. I feel a lot better about myself now than I did with Kouri. I can't ever see my dad again. I want her to go to prison forever. If she got out, I would be so scared, really mad, and I wouldn't want to go with her anywhere. I'm worried that she would take me away from Katie and Clint. Once she is gone, I will feel happy, and I will feel safer and relaxed, and trust people more.
Thank you. Christina.
Yes,
Good
Your
morning.
Honor. I am Christina Green. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, registered play therapist, and I will be reading for 8R. You took away my dad for no reason other than greed, and you only cared about yourself and your stupid boyfriends. You were not caring and watching over me and my brothers. I had to be a parent to W. C and I would walk him to the bus stop, feed him, and watch him. You were not concerned about our health. When we got hurt, you didn't even care. When C got run over by a side-by-side, you still made him go to the soccer game that day without taking him to the doctors first. You would lock C in his room, and I would have to go to the kitchen and bring him food. You shamed us when we didn't want to eat uncooked lasagna you made. We threw it away because we couldn't eat it. Then you made us watch videos of children starving in war areas. You wanted.
Oh my god. The children didn't want to eat Kouri's cooking, which sounds like it was undercooked. Sounds like it was fucking awful. She showed her children war footage of starving children. And again, they were like 5, 7, 9 years old, watching war footage.
Cooked lasagna you made. We threw it away because we couldn't eat it. Then you made us watch videos of children starving in war areas. You wanted to scare us into eating something that wasn't cooked. You wouldn't let our dog outside, and then the dog would pee inside. You created this problem, then you would smack my dog on the head as hard as you could. You wouldn't let me put my kitten in the garage for safety at night, and we found it eaten by raccoons the next day. You wouldn't
That's what I was referring to earlier when I said Kouri Richins also hates her children and animals. And you can tell this boy specifically loves animals, has a heart for animals, and he knew Kouri was cruel to animals, and it's heartbreaking.
let us turn on and use the heater lamp for the chickens and bunnies, and they froze to death. You would always argue with my dad and lock the door. You were not playing the role as a real mother does. You were doing the opposite. Now my dad can't be my coach anymore, can't be at any of my games. He won't be at my birthdays. He can't teach me how to drive. He won't be at my graduation. and he can't take me camping or fishing. You made me paranoid about sleeping on my dad's side of the bed by saying I might die or get harmed when I was just trying to be close to my dad after you killed him.
This kid is in mourning, in grief, grieving the loss of his father, sleeping on the side of his bed, the side that he, I'm assuming, passed away on from Kouri fatally poisoning him. This kid's just trying to be closer to his dad, and she's putting it in his mind that something bad is going to happen to him too if he keeps sleeping on his father's side of the bed. That is so evil. I don't know how else to describe it other than pure evil.
You took away everything from me and my brothers. I don't want you out of jail because I will not feel safe if you are out. You have never said sorry for anything that you have done to me and my brothers. I don't want you to hurt anyone again. I know that you will need to stay in jail to fully take accountability for what you did to me, CW, and my dad. With you in jail, I will be able to continue to feel safe and live a happy and successful life without fear of you hurting me or anyone I love. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So I had to switch to the Associated Press feed. There's a cut because for some reason, Court TV's completely skipped one of the victim's advocates. So I found the Associated Press and we're going to just carry on from there.
Yes, my name is Sarah. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist, and I'm going to read the victim impact statement for CR. My name and age now, my name and age I was at the time of the crime. CR, age 12, now 13. I was 9 when my dad was murdered. What I would like to see happen if the perpetrator is convicted of the crime, I would like to see Kouri get a life sentence. My thoughts regarding an appropriate sentence for the person who is accused of this crime and if they are found guilty. I think Kouri should get a life sentence because what she did is very sick, because it had no reason to happen and it impacted a bunch of people, including me. These are some reasons why I think she should have a life sentence. The information I feel is important for the judge to be aware of in sentencing. I think the judge should know that my dad was a good person and very thoughtful and kind and helped whoever needed help. He was always taking the extra mile to help people. My physical injuries as a result of this crime are as follows. I was sleeping and then I went to get a drink of water, then went back to bed. And when I woke up shaking and Bailey called the ambulance and they came and I couldn't talk for a while, I think Kouri had something to do with it because she didn't call the ambulance. She called Bailey and Bailey called the ambulance.
So did this child go and get a glass of water and use that same cup that was laced with fatal fentanyl to drink his water? I don't know. And it's very suspicious that Kouri was not concerned at all.
At the ER, Kouri resisted to have my blood drawn, and kids who usually have this kind of seizure is when they are a few months old to a year old. I learned later that Kouri bought more fentanyl and had it in the house when this happened. I think this
Okay, maybe this wasn't on the night Eric Richins was murdered. I don't know when this was. Was she lacing her children? I wouldn't put it past Kouri.
is what happened. She did what she did to my dad in the living room. My experienced emotional injury because of this crime is described as follows. Sad. I feel mad that I have to feel sad. I went from being scared for my life to feeling really good. I was scared for my life because I didn't eat that much. Kouri was always drunk or gone. I was always locked in my room. I can't remember, but I am pretty sure the lock was on the outside. Kouri threatened she would kill my lizard because we didn't want to watch some weird show with her. All of our chickens died because there was no food or water. My rabbit died because we didn't have food or water. The goats almost starved to death because she bought moldy hay and she didn't water them. Nothing ever got fed or watered. It didn't feel good to worry about my animals. I felt like I had to take care of my siblings. Ash mostly took care of me though because I was locked in my room. Ash would bring me food. Kouri would lock me up if I told her she was drunk. This happened pretty much daily. I feel angry that she locked me in my room. I am angry almost all my animals died. I am angry she threatened to kill them. I am angry she killed my dad. I started to feel really good when I moved into a safe place. It was safe because the people around me were safe, Katie and Clint. I felt safe at Jake and Shalina because I wasn't with Kouri anymore. Counseling. I feel annoyed that I have to go to counseling and tell the story about what happened 55 million times. I feel better now because I know it's to help me. I would like to not have to go to counseling. I would like to have to not worry about anything after this trial is over. I want the judge to know I hope Kouri gets convicted to a life sentence. Kouri is always drunk. I want the judge to know my dad was a good person and I miss my dad. I miss my dad, but I do not miss how my life used to be. I don't miss Kouri, I will tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we know Kouri was drunk, throwing it back after she murdered Eric. Possibly before as well. To be a kid in that situation, knowing your mother is drunk every day, that is so terrifying. Not feeling safe at home. Okay, so I went back to the court TV feed because the audio for the AP feed was awful. This is one of Kouri Richins' attorneys. They're going to give their little summary of who's going to speak. Pretty sure Kouri Richins' attorneys are going to be reading most of the statements because those people didn't want to show up in person or couldn't be here for whatever reason. And then we're also going to hear from someone who's against Kouri Richins going to prison for life, but not because they know her. It is a woman whose father murdered their mother, and she now wishes that he was not in prison for life. So here is Kouri Richins' attorney. Okay, the audio was just too awful as that woman was speaking, so this is another one of Kouri Richins' lawyers, and she is reading a statement from Kouri Richins' mother, who I'm surprised didn't want to be on camera. She sure did love doing that 2020 episode a few years ago.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kouri's mother, Lisa Darden, is here in the courtroom. She's actually, I feel, given me the privilege to read her words. She was concerned about her ability to read them herself. Your Honor, Kouri is my daughter. I write to you today carrying grief that words struggle to hold. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the loss of Eric. He was my son-in-law, my friend, and a truly wonderful father. Eric had a kind heart and a generous spirit. He was deeply loved, and he will never be forgotten by me or by the many people whose lives he touched. Eric once saved my life, and I have carried that gratitude with me every day since. His legacy lives on most clearly through the 3 beautiful boys he left behind. Your Honor, I speak today as a mother and as a grandmother. The children are my greatest concerns. These 3 boys have endured unimaginable loss and upheaval in their young lives. They lost their father, then their mother, then the sense of safety and continuity every child deserves. Their world has changed again and again through no choice of their own. Whatever sentence is imposed will shape their lives forever. Whatever sentence is imposed, that was their choice. I will continue to watch the boys grow, whether at school events, or sporting activities, and throughout their lives. I will keep them in my prayers, hoping they grow into emotionally stable and resilient young men. Kouri is more than the worst day of her life. She is a mother who has devoted herself to her children since the day they were born. Before all of this, she was deeply involved in their schooling, their sports, their faith, and their community. She coached teams, volunteered weekly at school, led youth programs, and taught her boys compassion through service, from food banks to flood relief to helping firefighters and families in need. Her life centered on her family and on helping others. In many ways, everyone impacted by this case has suffered loss. However, the greatest burden has fallen on 3 innocent children. These boys have experienced repeated disruption and trauma at an age when stability is essential. Before these events, they lived in a loving home with 2 devoted parents. They were surrounded by family, supported emotionally and financially, and deeply connected to both their mother and father. Their lives revolved around school, sports, family traditions, and feeling safe and loved. That sense of security was taken from them in stages. First, they lost their father suddenly and without preparation. They were informed by officials rather than being guided gently by a parent, a moment that forever changed their childhood. Their mother then spent more than a year helping them navigate grief, modeling compassion and emotional resilience, and working closely with them to understand loss in age-appropriate ways. She even found creative ways to help them cope emotionally during this painful period. Then, they lost daily access to their mother. Once again, they were told life-altering news by strangers rather than family. The boys were moved between placements, disrupting routines and emotional progress, despite beginning to feel settled and supported. Throughout this time, they maintained a meaningful and positive relationship with their mother through letters, phone calls, visits, and counseling. Later, they were moved again, against their expressed wishes, away from family caregivers and trusted relationships. Each transition compounded their confusion, anxiety, and grief. Children need continuity to heal, yet these boys have experienced repeated separations from the people they rely on most. As a grandmother who helped raise these children, I have also lost daily contact with them. They were a central part of my life, just as I was part of theirs. The separation from their maternal family has been devastating, not only to me, but to the boys themselves, who deserve access to all safe and loving family connections. Your Honor, these children have already endured more than most adults will in a lifetime. Being placed in the middle of adult proceedings and repeatedly confronted with painful realities risks further emotional harm.
See, I would be feeling for Kouri's mother for not being able to see her grandchildren if she wasn't also a crazy bitch. Like, you sent investigators the book about grief, and you have your own situation going on with a partner overdosing and you being the beneficiary. There's other crazy shit that I cannot recall, but it wasn't being talked about at the trial, for sure. I'm sure Eric's side of the family knows a lot.
They love their mother. They need reassurance, not fear. Healing, not more loss. I ask the court to carefully consider the cumulative impact on these children and the importance of preserving their emotional well-being and future stability when determining your appropriate sentence. Your Honor, I ask the court to take a moment to consider Kouri Richins as a whole person, beyond headlines or assumptions, and to understand the life she built before this case. Kouri has been driven, disciplined, and committed to growth from a young age. She graduated from high school in 2007, completing her studies a year early. She continued her education and earned her associate's degree in 2010. In 2012, she obtained her bachelor's degree, the same year she became a mother for the first time. In 2013, Kouri married Eric, and together they began building a family.
Now she needs a box of tissues? What about when your children's statements were being read about the shit that you put them through? Now you're tearing up? I feel like this is going to be a trend. I feel like Kouri is only going to tear up hearing about how she's such a good person, how she doesn't deserve to go to prison for life.
Their second son was born in 2014. Kouri continued pursuing education while raising her children, earning her master's degree in 2017, followed by the birth of their third son shortly thereafter. Professionally, Kouri has consistently worked to better herself and provide for her family. She obtained her real estate license in 2019 and later earned her general contractor's license in 2021, achievements that reflected her work ethic, independence, and determination. In 2022, Kouri experienced a devastating loss with the sudden death of her husband. Despite profound grief, she sought constructive.
Sudden devastating loss? Bitch, she planned all of this out! She literally tried to kill him a week before! What do you mean, sudden devastating loss? She was sending gifts to her fucking side boyfriend, who testified at the trial. She was sending him gifts of the Dumb and Dumber characters rolling around in money. As literally like the day Eric passed. Or maybe like the day before, but either way. She was plotting this for a while. And when it finally happened, she was happy. The only thing she cared about was getting her hands on Eric's money. She didn't care about anyone or anything else. What a wild thing for the mother to write.
Constructive ways to cope and help others, publishing a children's book in 2023 focused on helping children process loss. After her arrest in 2023, Kouri did not retreat from self-improvement. While incarcerated, she earned her paralegal certificate in 2025. In 2026, she completed her MBA, pursuing education under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. She continues to seek opportunities for further education, demonstrating perseverance and a commitment to growth. Your Honor, this timeline reflects a pattern of responsibility, resilience, and continued effort to better herself, even in the most challenging moments of her life. I would like to illustrate Kouri's character through her actions and the way she lived her life, particularly as a wife, mother, and member of her community. Kouri was deeply devoted to her family. She was a committed wife to Eric and a hands-on present mother to their 3 sons.
That's not what her son said. Yes, she was so dedicated to her children that she threatened to kill one of their lizards if they didn't watch the shitty show on TV that she wanted to watch.
Their marriage was built on partnership and mutual support. Kouri consistently supported Eric in his career, hobbies, and interests, including his involvement in sports and coaching. She encouraged his passions and stood by him throughout their life together. In return, Eric expressed his commitment to caring for his wife and children, and their shared priorities were apparent in the way they lived and parented. As parents, Kouri and Eric focused on raising kind, engaged, and active children. Kouri was closely involved in her son's education, sports, and activities. She volunteered weekly at their school, coached youth soccer and basketball, served as a scout leader, and was present at practices, games, and events. Her time, energy, and focus were always directed toward her children's well-being and development. Beyond her immediate family, Kouri consistently showed compassion for others. She was active in community service and believed strongly in teaching her children empathy through example. Together, they volunteered at food banks, participated in flood relief by filling sandbags for elderly residents, baked cookies for firefighters during fire season, and assembled care packages for families and individuals in need. She also helped ensure that children in the community had proper winter clothes by donating nearly 100 pairs of snow boots to a local elementary school. During the holidays, Kouri made extraordinary efforts to help others, purchasing, wrapping, and delivering hundreds of gifts to families who were struggling. She also demonstrated thoughtfulness in her extended work family by assembling personalized gift boxes and organizing holiday gatherings to bring people together.
Anything this woman did was to climb a social ladder or get some tax write-offs for her business. This woman is the Grinch. Like, before his heart grew, like, she just has a shriveled up little heart. There's nothing there. There is no remorse. There is no empathy for anyone.
In 2023, following her husband's death, Kouri published a children's book designed to help grieving children process loss. She donated hundreds of copies to children who had lost a parent and visited schools to read to students dealing with grief. Although the book
Yeah, she was doing her little hometown book tour to promote her book. She was not doing that out of the goodness of her heart. She was trying to squeeze every bit of money out of her situation as she possibly could.
achieved some commercial success, her intention was not profit. It was to help children feel less alone during one of the most difficult experiences a child can face. Kouri has always viewed her greatest accomplishment as her family, her husband, her children, and the home they built together. Her loyalty to her family is unwavering. As an aunt, she has been a consistent and loving presence in her nieces and nephews' lives, providing child care support, attending milestones and school events, and assisting her siblings whenever they needed her. She has been the person who organizes family gatherings, holidays, and shared tradition, keeping the family connected. Faith has also played an important role in Kouri's life. She and her children regularly attended church and participated in faith-based community activities, reinforcing values of service, compassion, and responsibility. Your Honor, these are not isolated gestures. They reflect a long-standing pattern of generosity, responsibility, and care for others. Kouri's life before this case was defined by service to her family and community, and by her commitment to raising her children to be compassionate and engaged members of society. From a young age, Kouri demonstrated responsibility and a strong work ethic. While still in high school, she worked nights, weekends, and holidays to help support her aunt's business, using her earnings to pay her own way through college. That sense of responsibility never diminished. She continued to support.
I'm confused. Is this still Kouri's mother? Or did Kouri write this and then send it to her mother? Because at first it sounded like Kouri's mother, but now this sounds like something Kouri would write. I'm going to speed this up a little bit to 1.2.
Members whenever they needed help. Only 3 weeks after losing her husband, Kouri faced another profound loss with the death of her uncle. Even while grieving deeply herself, she stepped forward to help her aunt by taking on the responsibility of planning the funeral. This pattern, putting others' needs ahead of her own pain, has been consistent throughout her life. Kouri has always believed that no one should have to navigate grief or hardship alone. Kouri and I share an exceptionally close relationship as mother and daughter. She has stood beside me during some of the most difficult moments of my life, including surgeries and radiation treatments, providing care, support, and comfort without hesitation. Our relationship is built on mutual reliance, trust, and love. I, in turn, have played an active role in her family's life, helping care for Eric, the boys, and Kouri, and being deeply involved in their daily lives. Kouri also shares a strong bond with her brother. Though close in age, and like many siblings growing up, it was the loss of their father shortly after high school that solidified their understanding of the importance of family. Since then, the relationship has only grown stronger. They have supported each other through life's milestones, challenges, and joys.
I do not know how Corey's father passed. Curious to see how that happened.
As a mother, Kouri has always made sure her children felt surrounded by family. She intentionally included her brother in holidays, family gatherings, and everyday moments, reinforcing the value of connection and belonging. She welcomed her brother's wife into the family from the very beginning, making a deliberate effort to ensure she felt included and supported. She has constantly offered help with family milestones, celebrations, and responsibilities, always striving to ease stress for others. Kouri takes pride in maintaining a close-knit family. She believes the shared time, whether during holidays, sporting events, small gatherings, or simply simple evenings together, is essential. Creating those moments of connection has always mattered deeply to her, and she has worked intentionally to keep her family united. Kouri played an important and deeply integrated role within the Richins family, particularly during times of hardship. When Eric's mother passed away in Hawaii, Kouri provided steady emotional support to the entire family and assisted in organizing funeral arrangements, stepping in wherever help was needed during a very painful period. Her commitment to Eric's family was genuine and enduring. At one point, Eric's mother expressed that Kouri was not simply her daughter-in-law, but her daughter, a reflection of the closeness and trust Kouri had earned within the family. Kouri and Eric prioritized time with extended family, creating meaningful memories together, including regular visits to St. George, Utah, to spend time with Eric's grandmother. When one of Eric's sisters faced unemployment, Kouri helped her secure work at the hospital where she herself was employed. She also routinely provided childcare for her sister-in-law's children, allowing them time together as a couple. Her involvement went beyond logistical help. She always participated in family milestones, including serving in a bridal party and assisting with wedding planning for another of Eric's sisters. During a particularly difficult period in that sister's life, Kouri accompanied her to a self-help retreat, offering both emotional support and companionship. Within the Richins family, Kouri often served as a source of calm and connection. She consistently worked to ease tensions, provide comfort, and maintain relationships during challenging moments. Her efforts contribute significantly to the overall well-being of the family. Kouri's compassion extended well beyond her immediate and extended family. She opened her home to the parents of a friend whose house had been damaged, offering them a safe place during a difficult time. When another friend's parents lacked firewood, their sole source of heat during the winter, Kouri arranged for a truckload of wood to ensure they stayed warm. She maintained close, supportive friendships, particularly participated fully in friends' major life events, and was actively involved in the lives of their children. As a neighbor, Kouri was equally attentive and caring. Her home was offering a gathering place for neighborhood children, and she routinely prepared meals for parents working late or offered help to neighbors facing illness, including one undergoing chemotherapy. Her generosity was never performative. It was quiet, consistent, and motivated by genuine concern for others. Kouri is not a perfect person, but she is an authentic one. Her life has been marked by steady acts of kindness, loyalty, and service toward her family, her friends, and her community. She has always found purpose in easing the burden of others and helping people through difficult moments. Following Kouri's separation from her children, they were placed in a living situation that differed from what they expressed as their preference, despite having strong and meaningful bonds with extended family who had long played an active role in helping raise them. As young children, they had little control over these decisions, which added to their sense of uncertainty and loss. Kouri's sons are now facing significant emotional challenges in their day-to-day lives. They are processing grief, separation, and repeated changes, all at an age when stability is critical. Like their mother, Kouri's eldest son is especially sensitive and expressive, and he has struggled deeply with these transitions. All three boys are currently receiving counseling, which has been essential in helping them cope. Kouri has consistently supported therapeutic intervention and has emphasized the importance of counseling not only for each child individually, but for the family as a whole. In particular, she has advocated for additional individual support for her eldest child, recognizing his specific emotional needs. The circumstances surrounding their separation and the rules governing communications have made it difficult for Kouri and her children to openly share their feelings with one another. This limitation has taken an emotional toll on both the boys and their mother. Important thoughts, reassurances, and emotions often remain unspoken, creating additional stress and sadness. As a mother, Kouri experiences deep anguish over her inability to comfort her children as she once did. She worries constantly about their emotional well-being and struggles with the pain of knowing they are hurting while being unable to fully support them. Her concern for her sons remains constant and unwavering. Kouri has endured profound emotional and personal suffering since the loss of her husband. She is grieving the absence of the man she loved and built a life with, while navigating separation from her children and family under intense public scrutiny. The weight of these losses is immense, and it has affected not only Kouri, but her entire family, her mother, her children, and those who love her. Despite being incarcerated, Kouri has continued to demonstrate resilience and personal responsibility. Within the confines of jail, she has dedicated herself to education and self-improvement, using her time to study and work toward meaningful goals. These efforts reflect her character and her desire to grow, contribute, and remain a constructive presence, even under extremely difficult circumstances. Like many marriages, Kouri and Eric faced challenges. When difficulties arose, they chose to address them responsibly by seeking marriage counseling rather than turning away from one another. Those efforts strengthened their relationship. By all accounts, from those closest to them, they were in a period of renewed connection and commitment, focused on their family and their future together. Your Honor, I stand before you as Kouri's mother. I love my daughter. I have known her for her entire life, not just through this case. I cannot speak to every aspect of what the court has considered, but I can speak to who she is as a human being, as a mother, and as a member of her family. I do not believe that Kouri did this, nor do I believe Kouri could possibly be capable of this crime. I can't validate what she did financially one way or another, and that's something Kouri will have to live with. I respectfully ask the court to consider a sentence that holds Kouri accountable for the jury's verdict while still allowing for the possibility of mercy and hope. A sentence without the opportunity for parole would permanently separate her from her children and leave no room for redemption. Kouri's life has meaning, especially to her 3 sons.
In case you missed it, Kouri's mother just flat out said in her statement, I don't think she did it. I guess she did the financial stuff, but I don't think she murdered Eric. And now the cameraman is zooming in on Kouri Richins' mother, who's in court, but didn't want to read the statement out loud. Fucking coward. Eric's sisters got up and read their statements and shared their trauma and their grief with the court. But you're a fucking coward. You couldn't do it, could you? You couldn't stand up there and lie to the judge's face, could you?
In her family, and I respectfully ask that the sentence reflect not only accountability, but also the potential for rehabilitation and profound long-term impact on innocent children. Your Honor, I ask from a mother's heart that Kouri be given a sentence that allows the possibility of a future, one in which she can continue to grow and one day be a positive presence in life and her children's lives again. I firmly believe the jury reached an incorrect conclusion and that this outcome represents a profound injustice driven by personal bias. I do not believe Kouri is capable of committing murder. No one understands or loves her children as deeply as their mother does. Thank you for listening, Your Honor. I love you, Kouri, Carter, Ashton, and Weston. Her story does not end with this sentence. It is the strength of her comeback that will define it.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
I'm sorry. I need to replay that. A comeback? What the fuck are you saying?
Her story does not end with this sentence. It is the strength of her comeback that will define it.
Her story does not end with this sentence. It's the strength of her comeback that will define it. What does that mean? Okay, this is the woman who asked that her father, who murdered her mother, be sentenced to life without parole. And now I guess she goes to hearings like this to express regret about what she said when she was a kid, directly going against what Eric's children have expressed. All 3 of them said they wanted Kouri to be away for life, and you will hear the judge address that in his sentencing. I'm gonna skip it though. Apparently, 2 investors that were working with Kouri and her realtor house flipping business also provided written statements for her attorneys to read. Don't care, I'm skipping it. Oh, okay. Kouri Richins' brother will be giving his statement in the flesh. So let's see what her brother has to say about all this. Is he delusional as well?
Good morning, Honor. I'd like to address the court with actually a personal letter to bring to Kouri.
Okay.
Little sister, I love you. I miss you. I miss our random banter. I miss your calls. I miss your constantly over-the-top positive attitude every time you speak.
If you're listening to the audio, I would like to inform you that Kouri Richins is expressing emotion for the very first time in this hearing. We have yet to see her tear up like this during the sentencing. Again, this is her brother addressing her. She did not express any emotion at all, other than what looked like shock and anger when her former sister-in-law's and her children's letters were being read. So, I don't know what that's about.
I miss our game nights. I miss Eric's stupid finger gun dance after we won a game. I miss our holidays. I miss you sending the boys to wake me up on Christmas morning. Way too early after we've stayed up way too late preparing Christmas for them so that it'd be absolute perfect. I miss our Sundays together. I miss arguing with the boys about who's better, Messi or Ronaldo. Brady or Rogers. I miss our backyard games. I miss me and the boys running all over you at sports in the backyard and Eric getting mad because you weren't competitive enough and you were really just out there to have fun and laugh. I miss you constantly luring me into your newest ideas and getting me excited about them. I miss vacationing. I miss family volleyball. I miss playing Madden and FIFA with Eric and the boys. I miss your stupid goats. I miss the soccer games and the celebrations we created for the boys after they scored a goal. I miss Carter's smile and his obsession with goat videos. Ashton's freckles and his competitiveness. And Weston's baby blues and tenderheartedness. I miss hearing them say Wani and playing catch in your living room. I miss your family. I miss our family. I miss the life that was stolen. I miss the life that was stolen from us for reasons that we can't yet fully understand.
I'm leaving the pause here because Kouri looks dumb. What do you mean, dude? I guess he's delusional as well. What do you mean reasons you cannot understand? Do they actually think that this is gonna get appealed? Wow. What is the family plotting? This feels so weird. With Kouri's mom saying her comeback is gonna define her, it's not disentencing. Like, what? This family needs to be watched.
We don't, with 100% certainty, know what happened to Eric. No one does, but we do know with 100% certainty.
No, we know. There was 4 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system that Kouri put in his drink. That is what a jury found. That is what investigators found. Kouri Richins murdered Eric Richins. She's been convicted. This isn't a whodunit and why situation. There was a paper trail. She got the life insurance policies out. She's dumb, but go on.
Certainty that it wasn't caused by you. We know that. The police know it. The prosecution knows it. And everyone watching this trial knows it. They could not prove their theory, just the opposite, and yet here we are. For some reason, unbeknownst to us, really bad things happen to really good people, Cor, and you were just really too good of a person, I guess.
What about Eric? What about the person your sister murdered? What do you mean bad things happen to good people? She did this to herself. This wasn't a tragic car accident or a cancer diagnosis. This was Kouri murdering her husband of 9 years while her 3 children were in the house because she wanted money. So fucking delusional.
I promised Dad a long time ago that I'd always look after you and Mom, and I intend on keeping that promise. We will get through this together, and the injustice that's occurred here in this courtroom, it'll be righted in time. Your innocence will shine too brightly to be contained once you've actually had a fair shot at defending yourself. When the day comes, I just know somehow that you're going to change a lot of lives that really need your help. And until then, little sister, just know. Just know that I'm right by your side, and I'll always be right here for you. I love you.
Right, thank you. Mr. Reynolds.
Morning, Judge.
This is another one of Kouri Richins' attorneys, by the way. Not sure what he's gonna say. I'm gonna speed it up and cut it out completely if it's dumb.
I'm deeply saddened by the way that justice was rendered in this case. I don't believe that this outcome fully reflects the truth or the humanity involved. But our Constitution demands something difficult of all of us, especially of officers of the court. It demands restraint. It demands respect for the process even when the outcome wounds us. And so, while I disagree with the verdict, I respect the jury's decision. And while I disagree with many of this court's rulings, I respect the lawful authority of this court and of Your Honor. This is because the rule of law only survives if we continue to honor it, even in moments of disappointment and pain. But as a Catholic, there's one authority higher than any courtroom, verdict, or government power, and that is God. I say that as a reminder of humanity and of human limitation. our system of justice is imperfect because every human is imperfect. I think that humility matters here today. It matters because the sentence of life without parole risks becoming something greater than punishment. It risks becoming the declaration that redemption no longer matters. The late Pope Francis said that life without parole is just a death penalty in disguise because it extinguishes something fundamental to human dignity, that is hope. Hope to all involved, victims, condemned alike. Refusing to impose a sentence of life without parole today doesn't mean Kouri is going to walk free. It doesn't mean that she will someday leave custody. She may very well spend the rest of her natural life in prison. It also does not mean that her victims who have spoken today, her kids, doesn't mean that they have to forgive her. They may never change their minds. They may never forgive their mother. And also, no court has the authority to demand that they do. But refusing to impose a sentence of life without parole does mean that we do not close the door completely. It means we do not presume to know with absolute certainty what a human life, victim or condemned, may become decades from now. It means that we do not extinguish hope entirely. Time changes people, pain changes people, grief changes people. Even victims and victims' families, over years and decades, sometimes arrive at places their present suffering could never foresee. Some discover forgiveness, some discover peace, some simply discover that healing and permanent condemnation are not always the same thing. And others don't. A sentence of life without parole assumes none of that human change matters. Not the change in the person condemned, not the change in those harmed. A life without parole sentence freezes every human being, victim and condemned, inside the worst moment of their life and declares that moment permanent. Our Constitution demands more restraint than that, because the real measure of justice is not what we do when mercy is easy. It is whether we preserve humanity when mercy is hardest. No sentence handed down today will undo suffering. A different verdict wouldn't have reversed tragedy. But there is a profound moral difference between saying you must be punished and saying you are beyond redemption forever. One is justice restrained by humility. The other risks becoming judgment without end. And no human institution possesses the moral certainty to make that judgment absolutely. That lies with God alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
That was the most sane impact statement from the defense, in my opinion.
Your Honor, I told you in the opening statements that we were going to do something a little bit different when we called upon some perspectives of people that don't even know Kouri, but that have been through this horrific journey through no choice of their own. One is from a mother whose son was murdered. Again, we're going to just share her name with only the court and at least the prosecution.
Okay, I guess they're also bringing in statements from people who don't even know Kouri. I don't care. We're gonna jump to Kouri giving her statement. So, a statement from Kouri Richins, surrounded on all three sides by her attorneys for some reason.
My sweet baby boys, I know that today you don't want to speak to me, have a relationship with me, but you may think you hate me, and that's okay. I will never be angry at you for your feelings. When the day comes that you're ready, I will be here for you, waiting for you and loving you. But I need you boys to know and understand that I have been desperately trying to get in contact with you any way that I can for years. That all of my communication has been completely cut off from you since early 2024. And now I will use any opportunity I can to get a message to you. Even if that means sharing it publicly to the world, fully restrained, in my jail clothes, in one of the most horrible situations possible. I don't care, and I'm not embarrassed or ashamed by any of it. All I care about is you boys.
You should be. You should feel some remorse and embarrassment for murdering your fucking children's father, but okay.
I will do whatever it takes for you to hear the truth from me and to come home to you. For the time being, I don't know when that is or when my next opportunity will be.
So for now, bear with me as I have tried to consolidate everything I've wanted to share with you for the last few years, with everything I want you to know until I'm able to speak to you again, in one long message. And although you may not be ready to hear it today, that's okay. My hope is one day you will be. May 6th of 2024, temporary custody was transferred from the state of Utah Child Services to your Aunt Katie and Uncle Clint. My last video call with you boys was several weeks prior to that, around April 24th, 2024, when you were still in the state's custody. Once temporary custody was transferred to Katie and Clint, against my wishes, they cut off all of my communication between you boys and I. It was years before I would ever have a trial. I warned social services that if they gave custody of you to the Richins family, it would be the last time I would be able to see or speak to you boys again.
Bitch, you were suing the sisters and taking your children's money. You murdered their father. Of course they're cutting you off.
And your opinion of me, in this case, and wild allegations would soon mirror those of the Richins family. And that's exactly what happened. You need to know the Darden side of the family fought a long, hard battle for custody, but was eventually ignored and denied. Since temporary custody was granted to Katie and Clint, they have not allowed me to see or speak to you. No more video calls, no more visits. They blocked the phone number for the jail so I can't call you. Birthday cards, Christmas cards, the letters I would send you boys, they were all returned or rerouted. All of my contact was cut off more than 2 years ago. So please, please ask them. Please ask them for your cards, for your letters, if I tried calling you. Please, just ask them, whether it's now or in 10 years. The one thing I need you boys to know, I did not abandon you. I did not just walk out of your lives one day to never return, to never call, to never show up. Regardless of what anyone tells you, I would never ever leave you boys. And I am so sorry if for even 1 second you thought that I did. If for even 1 second you thought that I didn't love you. Because that couldn't be further from the truth. You boys are my world. The reason I continue to wake up every day and fight to come home. You're my reason for living. I understand that you're in a difficult situation, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I understand you guys have been through an extremely difficult time this past 4 years. You should never have to deal with such tragedy, and I am so, so sorry that you were going through this. You boys have the right to be angry, and sad, and confused, feel in survival mode, have questions. All of this is completely valid. Your feelings are completely valid. And one day, when this is all over, we can sit down and talk about all of this and sort it all out. And I promise you boys, one day it will be over. I'm not perfect. I have succeeded.
What does that mean? What do you mean it will all be over? Oh, like when you're behind bars and they can process the shit show you put them through? Is that what you mean? I'm so confused.
And I have failed. As a person, as a wife, as a parent, we all do. I have done plenty of things I am not proud of. Some I regret, some I don't. Some I'm ashamed of, and some I'm not. I regret things I have done right in my life to later find out they were for the wrong people. I have said things I shouldn't have. I have done things I shouldn't have. Sometimes I haven't said what I should, or not meant what I did say. There are things I can't change, and long overdue apologies that I owe. There are would-haves, and could-haves, and should-haves. We all have them. We have all done them. And you boys will too one day, but in your own way.
Yeah, not like this, Kouri. Most people have not killed their spouse.
And that's okay. That's life, and we're human. Nobody is all good or all bad.
Made a little oopsie, killed my spouse. Yeah, no, Kouri, that's not how they're gonna think of this. Not a tiny little mistake. They'll make too. This is, life-altering, life-crushing. They don't have a dad anymore. You psycho bitch.
We just get portrayed that way. You're going to succeed and achieve amazing things in this life. You're also going to make mistakes and fail at some things. But use those opportunities to grow and to learn. They do not define you, and don't ever let other people make you think that they do. We are not defined by our best or our worst moments. We fall somewhere in the middle, ever evolving. And you boys are ever evolving. Secrets diminish self-respect. They lose trust. They make us lose ourselves. I fell in love with someone who wasn't your dad. Your dad fell in love with someone who wasn't me. I did things behind your dad's back. He did things behind mine.
Oh my god, why? During this whole trial, Kouri and the defense have been trying to paint Eric Richins as a cheater, as a bad husband, and they failed miserably. And it looks like she's still trying to do that in her statement. At this point, if Eric Richins did cheat on Kouri emotionally, physically, no one would fucking care. It'd be pretty understandable knowing what kind of witch he was married to.
Don't keep secrets. Always put your spouse first. Your dad and I didn't always do this, but don't be like us in that aspect. We made mistakes that I know I regret, and I'm sure if he were here today, he would say that there are a few things he regrets as well. Marriage is hard. Marriage takes work. Marriage takes love. Big love. Deep love. And you may think about divorce, and you will have fights, but then you will make up, and you will forgive each other. Because when your love is enough, your love keeps you together. Your love is all you need to ignore the noise. Your love never fails. Sometimes your dad would want to throw in the towel on our marriage, or I would want to throw in the towel on our marriage, but we never did. We always found our way back to each other. I would pick up his towel, or he would pick up mine. We'd hand them back to each other and start again. Because our love never failed. We stopped keeping track of each other's wrongdoings, and we forgave, and we moved on, and we loved. And if I had to relive all of those hard days all over again, I would do it without question. Your dad and I were a lot of things, a mess of sorts sometimes.
I just wanted to remind you all, or inform you if you didn't know, that this came out during the trial. She was letting him live in one of the houses that she was quote unquote flipping. She bought him a truck. She was basically giving him an allowance. She was his sugar mama. Like, all of this behind Eric's back. If Eric Richins was doing anything like that, it would have come up during trial. But it didn't, because Kouri was the one doing it.
But we were this crazy, beautiful mess that made us a family, because our love was enough. Our hard days never outweighed our good days. Our weak moments never outweighed our most memorable happy days. We always laughed more than we cried. We failed at some things, but we never failed at loving you boys. Our love was enough to make our house a home. Our love was enough to stay together, to raise you boys. Our love was enough to forgive each other when others said that we shouldn't. To do things for each other others may disagree with. Our love was enough to protect each other, even though it may cost us everything. Love can make you lose yourself. Sometimes it makes you do things you know you shouldn't, but knowing it's not wrong at the same time. Because your spouse is your person, and your love is enough. One day, you will meet someone and fall in love and understand that just your love is enough. Enough to withstand everything else. The noise of the world, the obstacles, the trials of marriage, the heartache, bad choices, forgiveness. You will understand your love is enough, and your love never fails. Don't worry about what others think about your relationship. Don't worry if they would do things differently. You just love. And you love big, and you love deep, and you protect your love. Your dad and I didn't have it all together. But together we really did have it all. Because we had you three. Don't let anyone choose the direction of your life by their opinions and their judgments. Being able to hold yourself together in the worst of situations doesn't make you emotionless. Separating personal and business life and emotions doesn't make you unreasonable. Resentment can get the best of others. Don't let it get the best of you. People will always have a lot to say about lives they've never lived. Live your life the way you choose to live it. Just be safe and be healthy and be happy. That's all that matters. Sometimes people will want you to believe that life is simply black and white. That situations are black and white, but they're not. Life, situations, they are full of color. At the very least, shades of gray. Always question the color, even if you're only questioning the gray areas. Keep an
Kouri thinks she's being so deep right now. I feel like her. I'm rolling my eyes like this is bad.
open mind. Question situations and stay curious. You will have some people in your life tell you how their love for you is unconditional. But once your most private life has been revealed, you quickly find out just how conditional their love actually was. Choose the people you hold close to your heart wisely. And always be the friend that walks into somebody's life when everyone else chooses to walk out. Always remember, the only people you owe your loyalty to are those people who never made you question theirs. Every day you wake up, you get a second chance at life. To do whatever you want, be whoever you want, to succeed in all your dreams. Take the day and run with it. It's a blessing. Don't take it for granted. Sometimes you will have hard days when all you want to do is count all the ways things are going wrong or have gone wrong in your life. In that moment, stop, take a minute, take a step back, take a breath, and switch your thinking to count all the ways that it has gone right. All the good that has come to you, boys. All the grace, the blessings, and the love. Remember that anyone can give up on something. That's the easy way out. True strength comes when everyone is expecting you to fall apart, but you hold it together, persevering through the hardest of times. Always persevere. Always prove them wrong. Because you boys don't give up, and you boys will never quit. There's always going to be someone out there ready to tear you down, misrepresent you, lie about you, tell half-truths, and judge you. They will judge you on decisions you do or don't make, what you did or didn't do, what you did or didn't say. They will take out of context and twist your words. They will judge you on your emotions or the way you grieve. You may show too much emotion, you may not show enough. They will tell you you're not grieving correctly, you're too angry, you're too sad, you're holding it together too well or not well enough, or maybe you're too ambitious. They will judge you on your demeanor, if you cry, if you don't cry, if you don't do anything at all. And all of this will get misinterpreted into something that it's not.
Kouri, I don't think your boys are gonna take advice from you. You're in handcuffs, convicted of murder, and like 4 other felonies. You do not need to be giving advice to people. Unless you're saying, hey, don't murder your husband. Don't murder people. That's the only advice you should be giving out.
Formed by the opinions of who's ever creating it. And then silence is also too often misinterpreted and misjudged. But when people behave that way, it has much more to do with them personally than it does you. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. It doesn't make it true. Remember who you are and what you stand for, the truth, and ignore the noise. Ignore their noise. Ignore their egos, their entitlement, and their biased judgment. Those who abuse the power in the positions they hold will have a higher power to report to one day, and that higher power holds the final truth, their final truth. Don't ever let someone tell you how to show emotion, how you're supposed to react to any given situation. Don't care what others think about you, what others say about you, just let them talk. Just be you, be yourself, be authentic, be genuine. Because those who truly know you, who truly love you, is all you need. Forgive those who turn their back on you, but never forget. Don't hold hate in your heart toward others. It only brings you down more than it does them. Apologize when you're wrong, even if that apology is long overdue. You can't change what you can't change, and you can't change the past. But you can take accountability when you mess up. Admit when you make a mistake, even when it's embarrassing or humiliating, even when it can ruin relationships, careers, or your integrity. Be honest with yourself and those you need to. But never apologize for something you didn't do. Never admit to something you didn't do. And never beg for mercy for something you didn't do. Don't take the easy way out. Always stand up for what's right, even if you find yourself standing alone or with a small group of people that love you. Believe in yourself and be brave. Never give up on your fight, no matter how long it takes. Months, even years. Never give up on truth, justice, and the fight of corruption. When something is broken, fix it. When something doesn't make sense, question it. If money is paying for it, follow the money. Your brothers are your best friends.
If money is paying for it, follow the money? What? Rewind.
Fix it. When something doesn't make sense, question it. If money is paying for it, follow the money.
Kouri, what the fuck does that mean? Are you talking about your kid's trust fund? The one that you're draining because you're suing them? There's 3 fucking lawsuits going on? You're the one stealing the money, you crooked, crazy woman.
Your brothers are your best friends. Your dad and I raised you boys that if you cared about nothing else in this world, you care about each other. Your brothers will always be there for you. They will always be your brothers. You love them, you protect them, you take care of each other. You support each other, you help each other, and you trust one another. You be loyal to one another, and you keep each other safe and healthy and happy. And you stay together no matter what. You have each other's backs. Be patient with one another. Don't keep track of wrongdoings. Let them go. Forgive. Move on. Show compassion, empathy toward each other. And never go a day without telling one another you love each other. Because you are never too old, or too cool, or too busy to love each other. Don't ever settle for just good. Go for great. In school, in your career, in hunting, in fishing, in your relationships, in your goals. Exceed expectations. Be like your dad. Be generous. Be charitable. Stay humble. Give when you have too much. Give more than you take. Help when others are in need. Serve your community. Be like your dad. Never stop learning. Through education, through people, through travel, culture, through business and friends. From your success and achievements, from your mistakes and failures. Be like your dad.
I accidentally left this on 1.25 speed, and I'm glad I did because this bitch talks so slow. I think she's almost done.
Love the outdoors. Find your peace, your therapy, your heart and soul. On the top of a mountain somewhere. Where it's quiet. Where it's calm. Where you will be able to feel the spirits of those that you love and miss the most. Be like your dad. Laugh. Laugh often. Laugh loud. Laugh when you want to cry. Laugh when you're mad. Have that laugh that everyone recognizes and no one will ever forget. Even when you're gone. Be like your dad. Love your family. Through the good, the bad, the disagreements, the back and forth arguments. Choose forgiveness. Choose love. Choose happiness. Be a loyal brother. Be a noble son. Be like your dad. Have the hobbies that bring you excitement and joy, that give you a break from life, but build your life full of people and family who you love and that love you. Build a family that makes you happy to come home to every day, with a career that makes you hold your head high. Be the friend everyone wants to be friends with, and the dad that everyone wishes they had. be like your dad. As your parents, your dad and I wanted to give you every opportunity or choice that we didn't have. We would do anything for you boys, or break our backs falling over obstacles and finding our way to be sure you had the best of the best. Even if we didn't always do it well, or have the right answers, or the words, we would give you everything that we had. But the one thing I can't give you boys are the answers that you want the most. Because I can't give you something that I don't have. An explanation that I just don't know. I've never lost a son. I've never lost one of my brothers, a nephew, or a best friend. But I did grow up with a single mother, and I have lost my father. I do know what it's like to wonder, what if Dad could have watched me graduate college, walk me down the aisle, be there for the birth of one of you boys? If only Dad were here. I do know what that's like. The lifetime of pain that brings, the sadness and the anger. I would never wish that upon anyone. Especially you boys.
Then why did you kill him, Kouri? Delusional.
My own sweet babies. It's a lifetime of what ifs and if onlys. An empty hole in your heart where your dad's supposed to be. He's supposed to fill. He's supposed to walk through life with you, with us, with our family. I do know what that's like. So murder, an attempted murder, 4 years later, and it's still hard for me to say those words out loud. They get caught in my throat. They turn my stomach, and I try to avoid them as much as possible because it makes me physically sick to think about. But still to this day, I can't believe this is real sometimes. That this is our life. That this is my life. Convicted of taking one of the people out of my life who filled it the most. My husband, the father of my children. Still in shock and still in disbelief. Accused and now convicted of such a heinous crime. Potentially costing me to never see you boys again. I just lost both of their parents, and there's no textbook answer on how or what we're supposed to do, how I'm supposed to react or move forward. And I'm so sorry you boys are being pulled through the middle of this absolute chaos. Between two families fighting that both love you so very much. Trust and assets, our home, none of it matters. You boys are what matter.
If it doesn't matter, why are you trying to take it away from them?
Your safety, your health, mentally, emotionally, all of that should be being prioritized. I will and have always prioritized your safety. I am your mother, and that is my job. And for anyone to scare you otherwise is just cruel and heartless. I'm sorry that 8 people from a jury who have never met you or me or our family had the right to determine our future. And they did that in less than 3 hours.
Actually, Kouri, they watched the evidence come in and the testimony over several weeks, and it proved, beyond a reasonable doubt, that you murdered Eric Richins.
In a perfect world, there might be justice. But in a perfect world, nothing ever goes wrong. Tragedies don't happen. Some think a verdict or the sentencing will be the answer that they seek or that they need, but it won't. It will only give them something else to think about for a while. It may help to disperse some of their hurt or their resentment, but it won't relieve it. This grief will outlive us all. The hundreds of lives that this has affected. The lifelong trauma you boys have suffered this last 4 years will outlive us all. You haven't had to just endure losing one parent, but losing two. And no child should ever have to go through that. Especially when one was an unforeseen tragedy, and the other based on injustice and a system we're supposed to trust.
Kouri, this is where you take accountability and you apologize and you show remorse. When you deny it to the judge after getting a conviction on not just murder but attempted murder, that's not going to play out well. I understand appeals are still going on. You're calling this a tragedy, saying it's unknown what happened and that you can't give your children answers. The judge is not going to like that.
Your dad's memory will always be the kind that's a physical hurt, a tightening in your chest when you think of him, particularly on days like today, his birthday, because he was so loved that no verdict or sentence will ever be able to release that kind of suffering. I'm broken without your dad, I'm broken without you boys. God did not put me in this world to take a life. God put me in this world to give life, your lives. And I don't know who or what I'm supposed to be if it's not a mother. Your mother. And as much as you've been influenced into thinking that Dad was murdered, that I took your dad from you, that is completely wrong and an absolute lie. And the thought of that is still as absurd today as it was 4 years ago. And just because someone may not be perfect, that's a far reach for them to be capable of murder. To kill someone, our someone. Your dad was in physical pain, a lot of physical pain. And just because some people didn't know or didn't want to see certain things, doesn't mean they weren't happening or they weren't true. He would have never left us intentionally. And I would have never taken him from you, from us. He was the glue that held us all together, that made us, us. Every little boy needs their father. Is he supposed to teach you the things that I could never explain? He's supposed to teach you and do things with you that only a dad can do. And only he could give you those life lessons between a father and a son. I would have never taken that from you boys. I know how much you need him, how much you love him. How much you aspire to be just like him. And I would have never taken that from you. And I'm so sorry that I can't bring him back. For you, for me, for our family. I can beat myself up all day about how I could have been a better person or made better personal choices.
When did you beat yourself up, Kouri? When did you take any bucking responsibility or accountability? Like, you've just been saying you didn't kill him, that it was a tragedy, that you don't have the answers. And anytime you admitted to some sort of mistake, like cheating on Eric, you brought up his mistakes that he supposedly made. When did you beat yourself up? I'd like to see that.
And I can understand and accept you boys being upset about those things. But murder? No, absolutely not. I will not accept that. And I will not be blamed for something I did not do. I will appeal and fight these charges no matter how long it takes. Not because I have anything to prove to this court, to the state, to the Richins family, or to the world. But I do have something to prove to you three. I do care what you boys think, and I need you boys to know the truth. And because of that, I will never quit or give up on this fight for justice, the truth, and coming home to you. So please, I know that right now you may not believe me, that you believe I took Dad from you, and that's okay. I still and will always love you, and I'm asking that you please just don't give up on me. I'm coming home, not today, not this year, but we're going to make this right. Our justice system will get this right, although this courtroom can't seem to. We have a long road ahead, but I will never quit fighting my way home to you boys. I love you more than these words could ever express. I loved you before I ever met you. And I will love you long after I'm not here to say it. And every minute of every day, I miss you boys more and more. And I think about how much I wish I could be with you, and this nightmare would go away. And we could have our family back. This entire situation isn't fair to anyone, but it's especially not fair to you three. And you boys are all that matters. I want to remind you just how strong you are. That you are loved by so many. And I am beyond proud of you. Of everything you have overcome, everything you have achieved, and how much you bring into this world. You boys have been through so much, and I wish I could take away all your sadness and all your pain. Tell you how much Dad and I love you, and that everything's going to be okay. I wish I could count the freckles in your little cheeks. Read you books before bed. And help you with all your homework. I wish I could help you through your toughest nights. And hear your laugh through your happiest days.
Oh my god, wrap it up, lady.
But for
Come
now,
on.
that's just not the way it is.
Oh my god.
You have to be strong. You have to remember that our strength grows in these moments when we don't think we can go on. But we keep going on anyway, because we have to push through these hard days. Because in the end, at the end of this war, it will be so worth it. But
What fucking war are you talking about? The war between the families that you created?
I need you boys to always keep pushing through these hard days. Because this will come to an end. I just need you to hang in there. Listen to your little hearts. Listen to your little bellies for the truth. Before you were told who to be and what to believe, remember who you are. Remember who we are. Remember our family. I will continue to call you every day, even if my calls are blocked. Just so you know that I'm here. I've always been here. And I will always be here. My cards, my letters, they will never stop. I will never stop. I love you forever, Mom. That's all you.
Oh my god, okay, finally, we are getting to the sentencing of Kouri Richins, where we will find out if she gets life in prison with parole or LWOP, life in prison without the possibility of parole.
While inside the courtroom, everyone involved in this process must be treated with respect. We cannot have any outward reactions inside the courtroom. If any of you feel overcome with emotion, frustration, anger, whatever, of any kind, please remember just to look down. Keep your hands folded in your lap. The court has considered the following information: the evidence, information, arguments, and recommendations provided by counsel on the record today, the victim impact statements and other statements made on the record today regarding the appropriate sentence, and the pre-sentence investigation report as corrected on the record today, including the numerous statements attached to it. In addition, the court has considered each of the factors set forth in Utah Code 76-3-201 subsection 2B and has prioritized those factors as required by section 201-2C. Having considered the gravity and circumstances of the offenses for which Ms. Richins has been convicted, the number of victims, and available information regarding the history, character, and rehabilitative needs of the defendant, the court hereby orders that the sentences on counts 2 through 5 shall run consecutively to each other and to the sentence imposed on count 1. Moreover, the court exercises its discretion and chooses to impose no fines related to any sentence in this case. The court addresses the 5 counts on which Ms. Richins was convicted in reverse order. Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 5, third-degree felony forgery, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term not to exceed 5 years. Based on your conviction on count 4, second-degree felony insurance fraud, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term of not less than 1 and not more than 15 years. Based on your conviction on count 3, second-degree felony insurance fraud, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term of not less than 1 and not more than 15 years. Based on your conviction on count 2, first-degree felony attempted aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to an indeterminate prison term of not less than 5 years, and that may be for life. Which brings us to the final issue, the appropriate sentence for count 1.
Okay, this is the big one. First-degree murder.
Under Utah Code 76-3-207.7, there are only 2 options: an indeterminate prison term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life, or life in prison without parole. And the law requires that the court consider each option. Under a sentence of 25 to life, and considering the effect of the 4 consecutive sentences, the time that Ms. Richins has spent in custody, and the current practices of the Board of Pardons and Parole, Ms. Richins would likely serve approximately 30 years in the Utah State Prison before receiving her first parole hearing. By that time, she would be 66 years old. Under a sentence of life in prison without parole, Ms. Richins would be in prison for the rest of her natural life, unless the Board of Pardons and Parole determines by clear and convincing evidence at some future point that she is permanently incapable of being a threat to the safety of society, at which time the board would have the authority to release her. Under either scenario, Ms. Richins will be incapacitated, meaning structurally prevented from harming anyone outside the Utah State prison system for at least the next 3 decades, and perhaps much longer. But the potential impact on the survivors of the tragedy created by Kouri Richins, most importantly, Eric Richins' 3 sons, is more difficult to predict. On one hand, if the court sentences Ms. Richins to life without parole, one or more of those young men may come to resent that the court eliminated any opportunity they might have in the future, decades into the future, to express an opinion as adults with substantial life experience about whether their mother should, for example, be allowed to die with dignity. On the other hand, if the court sentences Ms. Richins to 25 to life, one or more of those young men may spend the next 30 years questioning why the court failed to protect them from the prospect of the person who murdered their father being released from prison at some time in the distant future, perhaps when they have families and children of their own. The court's contemplation of how those young men may come to feel about today's decision some 30 years from now comes from a place of genuine concern for them and humility regarding the court's inability to predict the future. Sitting here today, it is simply not possible for anyone, not even those young men, to know how their view of this case may evolve over the next several decades.
So, with those statements from the court, what do you think the judge is going to sentence Kouri Richins to? Do you think she's going to be sentenced to life with parole or no chance of getting out? What do you think?
My hope is that every person affected by Eric Richins' death will, over time, find their way to a state of peace. As for today, the court's duty is to make a decision. A weighty, long-lasting decision based on the best information available today. And the bottom line is this. Kouri Richins was convicted unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt of attempting to murder Eric Richins, her husband, and the father of their 3 children. And then, having failed in her first effort of spending the next 17 days, not changing course, but doubling down, preparing to try again, and ultimately completing the act through the administration of poison. And for what? Money. All for pecuniary gain. A person if convicted of committing that sequence of acts in that way and for that reason, and who causes the absolute tragedy that has befallen Eric Richins' sons and family. A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free. Accordingly, Ms. Richins, based on your conviction on count 1, first-degree felony aggravated murder, the court hereby sentences you to life without parole. You have the right to an appeal. You must file a notice of appeal within 30 days. You have the right to be represented by counsel on appeal. Mr. Bloodworth, anything further?
And I guess that's the end of this case until Kouri Richins ultimately has her comeback, as her mother called it, whatever that means.